Mr. Shapiro, thank you for joining us today. I think it is important that you're here as one of the leading conservative voices in the country. And the country has, in the last couple of weeks, talked a lot about and Googled Project 2025. It's one of the most Googled search terms right now. And you're not going to get any censorship from me. So I just wanted to know, from your perspective, I think it would help us understand, on just like a scale of 0 to 100%, how much do you support Project 2025?
I think, like President Trump, I haven't looked all that deeply at Project 2025, but it seems that Democrats on this committee, sort of like Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, if they say Project 2025 enough, their presidential candidate becomes alive again.
And so
Congress laughs as Ben Shapiro turns a furious Democrats' gotcha hearing into a live demonstration of why bringing talking points to a logic fight is like bringing a water pistol to a wildfire. Seriously, this hearing was supposed to corner him over Project 2025, but instead it turned into this huge back and forth on immigration, government waste, Social Security, abortion, free speech, basically every issue Washington has been fighting over for years.
Well, let's just talk about pieces of it, and I guess you can tell me if you support it. You probably want less bureaucracy, right?
I do.
I want less bureaucracy. You want more efficiency.
I do.
I want more efficiency. You want taxpayer money spent wisely.
I do. Congrats on becoming a Republican.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents would be proud. Mass deportations, it calls for that. Do you support that part?
I support the deportation of any illegal immigrant who's in the United States who is not of benefit to the generalized American public.
So if they're picking agriculture that puts food on the tables of everyday Americans, they've never committed a crime inside the United States, they didn't come across with documents, should they be deported?
If they have not paid taxes and if their draw on the taxpayer benefits are larger than the contribution they are making to the economy, or if they're involved in criminal activity, they should be deported.
How do we measure that?
The same way that the IRS measures my income every year. It seems like if the IRS can track down every aspect of every receipt that I've ever submitted, and they can do so for hundreds of millions of other Americans, they can do that for illegal immigrants as well, except for the fact that no one knows how many are in the country thanks to this administration.
So you would be cool with creating a system where they could pay those taxes if they wanted to, and then stay and work and put food on our table?
It depends on how long it would take for them to pay the taxes, and they would also have to go presumably to the back of the line, although I'm not sure why I'm testifying about immigration policy at this point.
How about banning the abortion pill? That's part of Project 2025. Do you support that part?
I think that that's a state-by-state issue on a personal level.
I'm just asking you.
Sure, I'm a fully pro-life person, which means that I'm not in favor of the distribution of the abortion pill.
Banning same-sex marriage, what about that part?
I am in favor of traditional marriage between a man and a woman, and I'm perfectly fine with anyone having any sort of voluntary sexual arrangement they seek. That's a different thing from whether the government should attach benefits to that personal relationship.
But you think it's a sin to have same-sex marriage?
I mean, I'm confused. Are you asking me as a religious Jew what I think about biblically?
I'm just asking, is it a sin to be gay?
Is it a sin to be gay? I mean, how long do we have here? 2 minutes? I mean, if the basic idea is that sexual orientation is up for government regulation, I'm not in favor of the government regulating the private consenting sexual activity of adults. That is a different thing, once again, from whether the government ought to engage in actual benefits for particular sexual arrangements that adults make.
But again, just you to me, is it a sin or not?
From a religious Jewish perspective, orientation is not a sin, but activity is. That's also the same perspective of most major religions, so far as I'm aware.
Okay. And how about cutting Social Security? Do you support that part of 2025?
I'm not sure what Project 2025's position on Social Security is. I'm in favor of the restructuring of Social Security along the lines of privatization and lowering and increasing the retirement age, because you, as well as every other congressperson, knows Social Security is going to go bankrupt, and yet everyone seems to have an interest in lying about it for the next decade and a half until we have to take austerity measures or radically increase inflation or taxes.
And bans against books about slavery. Do you support that part about?
Why would I possibly be in favor of bans about books about slavery? That would be absolutely ridiculous. What I am in favor of is the idea that school libraries should be able to make decisions along the lines of what exactly is appropriate for, say, a 7th grader and whether they ought to be treated to cartoons and genderqueer. That's not quite the same thing.
And just because we found some receipts, you did say, I think homosexual activity is a sin.
Yes, I'm a religious Jew,
sure
that's true.
There's a genetic component.
You found me out.
Orientation. but the view of all religious people I know has always been that sexual behavior is something that is up to you. And you said, I may have a desire to sleep with many women, but I do not.
I agree with me. Yes, that's true.
Congratulations on your, I'm sure it's very hard to restrain yourself. Mr. Chairman, I just want to shift to Alvin Bragg. He was supposed to be here this week, and he's not coming. And Hunter Biden was supposed to testify. Now he's not testifying. We were supposed to have votes on articles of impeachment, and we didn't. And again, we're just wondering, you guys write great press releases, but the payoff seems to never come. And so I guess we will keep waiting, and we'll do hearings like this. And finally, Chairman, you cannot yell fire in a crowded theater, and that's a restriction on speech, as you have recognized before. But you can yell theater in a crowded fire, and you all can continue to do that all you want, and we'll just waste the American people's time.
Gentleman's time has expired, and I remind him of the first rule of holes. When you're in one, stop digging.
All right, so here's the bigger picture. For the past few weeks, Democrats and a lot of media outlets have been talking about Project 2025 nonstop, like it's this giant political monster hiding under the bed. And the strategy seems pretty obvious. Say the phrase enough times and hope people panic before they even look into it. And that's actually where Ben Shapiro's first joke landed really hard. He said Democrats talk about Project 2025 like Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, like if they just keep saying it enough times, their political narrative magically comes back to life. Now, whether people agree with him or not, the line worked because it pointed out something real. A lot of Americans still don't even know what Project 2025 actually is. They just know they've been told it's dangerous. And once the hearing moved away from the scary labels and into actual issues, government spending, immigration, taxes, Social Security, suddenly the conversation started sounding a lot more normal and relatable. That's what made this hearing interesting. For a few minutes, it stopped sounding like cable news and started sounding like two people actually debating ideas. So let's go through this piece by piece, because there were a few moments here where you could actually feel the hearing shift in real time. First, the government efficiency part. The congressman starts listing things like reducing bureaucracy, making government more efficient, and spending taxpayer money wisely. And Ben Shapiro's basically sitting there like, yeah, obviously. Then the congressman jokingly says, "Congrats, I'm becoming a Republican." And wow, that moment actually says a lot, because once you remove the political branding from conservative ideas, a lot of them sound pretty reasonable to everyday people. Most Americans already think the federal government wastes money. Most Americans already think Washington is bloated and inefficient. Seriously. Then the hearing shifts into immigration, and this is where things got more serious. Now, online, people are probably going to clip parts of this conversation without context, so it's important to understand what was actually said. Shapiro said he supports deporting illegal immigrants involved in crime or those costing taxpayers more than they contribute economically. That's the key point. And then when the congressman brought up agricultural workers, people working farms, helping produce food, paying into the economy, Shapiro didn't just say deport everyone. He talked about legal pathways, taxes, and structured immigration processes. So the conversation was more nuanced than people are probably going to admit afterward. And honestly, that's part of the bigger problem with politics right now. Everything gets flattened into slogans. Then came abortion. Shapiro made it clear he's personally pro-life and opposes the abortion pill, but he also said these decisions should mostly happen at the state level. Now, people can disagree with that position completely, sure, but the argument itself is rooted in federalism, the idea that not every issue should be controlled by Washington. And whether you're conservative or liberal, that's actually an important constitutional debate. Then things got awkward during the same-sex marriage discussion. The congressman kept trying to pin Shapiro into some explosive answer. You could kind of feel it happening in real time. But Shapiro stayed calm and separated his religious beliefs from government power. He basically said, look, religiously, I believe traditional marriage is between a man and a woman, but government regulating private consensual relationships is a different issue. And honestly, you could almost feel the energy in the hearing room shift right there. Because instead of becoming this dramatic viral gotcha moment, it turned into a discussion about religious freedom and personal belief, which, whether people like it or not, is protected under the Constitution. Then came the Social Security part, and this might have been the most important exchange of the entire hearing, because Shapiro said something politicians almost never say directly. The system is financially unsustainable long-term. And wait, what? That's the part nobody in Washington wants to touch, honestly. Because everybody knows there's a problem, but nobody wants to be the person who talks about the math out loud. Now, people can debate solutions all day. Privatization, retirement age, restructuring, but pretending the numbers don't exist isn't a solution either. Eventually, reality catches up. Quick pause here. If you enjoy breakdowns that actually explain what happened instead of just yelling headlines for 10 minutes straight, hit subscribe and join the Congress Showdown community.